So you, you guys that are on here, I appreciate your time joining us on the very last session of the Data Summit on a Friday afternoon. So I know how precious that time is, and so hopefully this will be helpful for you. We talked about in the last session, so if you're listening in, you can always go back to that kind of why we use Connecteam. But IDRC offers Connecteam free to our member states, but it's also free to all states up to 10 accounts. So if you have a local district that wants to use it or a region, you would just set it up. But of course, they wouldn't all be connected together. You would have to get that individual, 10 accounts. But we do think it's a cool tool. It's very customizable, very helpful. This is the advanced training, in that we're not going to cover the basics of like how to create a report. We're going to cover more of the other parts of Connecteam and what you can possibly do. So I'm going to be sharing kind of the possibilities, how we do have a few people on here that are using it in different ways in their states. And if they so choose, then they can always share out kind of what they're doing with their states. So here's some of the advanced, what we call the advanced training topics. One is schedule management. So kind of organizing how people's shifts and breaks and all those kind of things are. There is something called the task management function where you can assign specific tasks to be done. There is something called the employee timeline. There are news events functions. So if you've got an event that's happening that you want anyone that has a Connecteam account in your area to know about. There is library. It's kind of a place that you can put a lot of different documents. There is a time clock function, quizzes. You can actually set up courses. There's something called breadcrumbs, which we'll talk about, that's related to the time clock. Recognitions, and then the idea of really kind of looking at and understanding your report results. So a lot that you can do that we covered in the previous section that's more kind of the reports and things like that. So if this is the first one that you're hearing about Connecteam, I'd really encourage you to go back and listen to the beginning one, because it might be more applicable when you're first getting started with Connecteam. So I'm going to see, I've got some about Iowa's stuff here, Alex, just so you don't get worried. I don't have anybody's names or anything like that, but I'm going to share kind of some screenshots of different things, and then I'll go into the actual tool itself. So has anyone used the schedule management function? Let me just put that in. Anybody? Alex, if you want to put in the chat box or unmute yourself, how have you used the schedule management? What have you done? Or Evelyn, either, I may unmute both of you guys because I know you guys have both.
So I know in the past, we used to do the schedule management for whenever we used to have a lot of what we call here in Iowa onboard or orientation dates. So we used to have multiple organizations that needed to have recruitment efforts conducted. So we kind of looked into the workload that everyone had in our state and pretty much assigned locations with different tasks to be performed within certain dates to different staff, so that way they know that they need to incorporate that into their workload.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use it, and I want you to kind of pay attention to how it's set up. So you've got your name over here. You can sync it with sometimes with your time clock. You've got who your admin or who's going to actually be able to see it. You can list view. There's different ways that you can see it. There's activities, assignments, jobs, and options on how you set it up. So a lot of different things you can do with the schedule management. I'm going to share with you kind of some of how the screens work. So you could say you're going to, if I wanted to create a new, adding new, I'm going to give a title to it. So maybe I have some IDRC staff that we've got multiple things going on and we want to kind of assign kind of what's happening. And so we can see, I can title it. It works similar to the reports. You have to decide who's going to actually get it. And so if you weren't with us in the last one, there's something called smart groups that you kind of assign how people are assigned together. And one note I just had in the last meeting, someone had said, hey, why is it that I'm seeing people from another state in my box? But what had happened was someone had created a new smart group and they added all admins as the leader of that instead of just themselves. So you have to be careful that you're, setting it up right. You're making sure the right people are getting in there. But if you ever see anything wonky, you can always reach out and say, hey, why am I seeing this person? That normally doesn't happen, but sometimes when people are brand new and they're learning how to set things up. So if I'm going to pick this scheduler, I'm going to decide who's going to get it. I'm either going to select those specific users or those smart groups that I've already got set up. And it's very similar to, to adding reports, same type of process. And then I can assign users that particular schedule. Once I assign that to them, it'll send them a notification that says, hey, I'm trying out a new scheduler tool on Connecteam, and they'll get that. And then I'll know that those, the asset is ready to go. Remember, asset to Connecteam means report, and they'll be able to see it. And so there's a lot that you can do. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can just open
Jessica,
Connecteams.
there's Cecilia Garcia raised her hand.
Cecilia, go ahead and just put your question in the chat box. Got a question, just put it in the chat box. So let me see if I can find, let me stop share for just a second because I want to open up where I'm going so that I'm not just opening all over the place. So let me share my screen. And like I said, Cecilia, if you have a question, just put that in there. Okay, so this is a lobby that you can see all of the ones. Because I work as the admin of the whole thing, I can see a bunch of them. But let's say I want to add a new one. We're just going to do, go ahead and put that on. I see, Cecilia, you keep raising your hand. Just go ahead and put your comment in the chat box. Okay, so it's saying, how do I want to, decide? Maybe I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to assign it to, I thought we had an IDRC group. Let's see, I'll just select these guys. So I'm just going to say ignore this because I don't have to go in and delete it. Now, so once I get in here and I've got this new thing to work on, I can look at these particular staff that they helped us out on a TRI request or on a project for us. You can see there's different types of jobs. I can change and add what it is. I can assign them particular things. I can add a single shift, add multiple shifts. Like the actions, I can say I can copy the previous week, I can clear the week, I can unpublish, I can export, I can print. There's a lot of things that I can specifically do, but I can add, maybe I want to add a single shift, and then it lets me go in here and say, all right, what are your details? What is the kind of job that you want them to do? What exactly, it starts with a date, what's the time, what's the title, what's the specific job, who's going to do this, where's it's going to happen, and then I can publish it to their particular the schedule right there. Let me see if I have a comment. Oh, okay. So that is kind of a little bit of what the scheduler looks like. There also is something similar that's called task management, and it may be specific things that you're wanting, somebody to do. And so I can add these tasks, I can select it, I can add subtasks, and I can add it to different schedules. So I don't know if any of you have used those particular things, but specifically, if I am going back over to, let me see if I can go back to my schedule management, click on here. You can see that, just different ways people can use it. They can assign it, they can test it, you can practice it out. A lot of different things that you can do specifically with schedule management. And so here's an example of, kind of choosing the day, and we can decide, do we need to have something happen on these different days? And you can make those schedules. So maybe you're organizing an effort where lots of you are recruiting at the same time. Maybe there's multiple activities that need to be going on. Maybe you're just kind of putting in the time. There's different tasks and jobs, and you want people to be able to kind of see what's happening in your schedule. You could use it for a lot of different reasons. So specifically, then once there is an activity log, it'll let you see, you can add those on and specifically publish it. You can kind of see what happens, and that log will be able to let you kind of follow what happened along. So there are specific jobs that you can change, or you can decide, or you can figure out exactly what you want that to look like. So schedule management, it says here that you can sync it with the time clock. You can manage, maybe you have a template that you want, manage week templates of what it could kind of look like. So there's a lot that you can do, but you have to kind of play around with it and see what it is, if you even need this. Some states don't use this at all. They usually use more of the report functions. Some integrate the reports to the schedule, to the time, time logs. There's a lot that you can do. There is a settings section, just like in the reports, that kind of lets you look at and say, all right, how does this look like? What does it look like here? Users, can they view everyone's schedule? Can they only see their own schedule? Can you enable availability? Users will be able to mark when they're unavailable for work. This allows them to do this, or this doesn't allow them to do this. Are they allowed to request other shifts? Or can you add a reject button if they can't do the, what you're wanting to do? You can look at the week and the time where it says like, okay, when's deciding what the week is, deciding the shift, deciding, the date, the time, however you have this set up. You can decide with notifications when you're going to get a notification, if a user has accepted a shift, if they've rejected, if they've claimed, maybe there's a project that needs to be done and they're saying, yes, I can go ahead and do this. If they've completed, you can really decide whether you want a mobile notification, you want a web push, or whether you want to email about any of those particular things. On the settings with limitations, you can say enable conflicts with other schedules, create a schedule, conflict in the schedule if the user is assigned to a shift or is unavailable. User limitations, you can decide that they can't reject a shift or they can't unclaim a shift. You can also decide within the scheduler how many hours they can work, and that way if they're picking up specific things to have happen, maybe you have different visits that need to have happen with the families and you've got 2 or 3 staff that are kind of coordinating how this happens and you want to use it for that tool, you can kind of set the parameters for however you want. You can also sync it with the time clock. It says by syncing the schedule with the time clock, users will be able to clock in directly from a shift or their job. Once clocked out, shift records will be added to their timesheets. So you can decide whether you want to sync the scheduler or whether you don't want it to be together or at all. And so there's kind of some examples of, don't sync the scheduler. I just want it to be separate. Maybe you don't even use the time clock and you have no reason to have it synced whatsoever. So then there's also task management. So task management is just the specific task. So here is new tasks. It says, hey, here's the task title. Here's the description, who you're going to assign it to, how often is it going to happen, when does it start, when does it do, and here's the tags. So I can go in and pick and assign it to them. So here's some tags, some things that people have used those tags. H2A verification, M6 move notification they want them to follow up with. Maybe someone's being onboarded. Maybe someone's checking to see if a 3-year-old is still present in the state. OSY verification, a new employer contact, monthly re-interview, buddy recruitment that needs to have happen, or documentation. So these are some tags that users have actually put into our system that they're using this for. So when you look at the time clocks, a lot of people use them in different ways. The time clock, it'll say over here, add new. Once you add new, let me just kind of share that with you in Connecteam. Let me see if I can find my Connecteam on here. It may take me a second to find it. Let me stop sharing and find it. Let's see, time clock. So I'm going to press the add new button on mine, and then I'll share with you the screen. Let's see, why can I not find it? Let's see. Nope, that's the wrong thing I'm sharing. This is a lovely thing about all of these. Hold on. We love it when technology works and hate it when it doesn't. And all right, screen sharing. So let me share this. Here we go. So this is making sure, hopefully I'm sharing this. Okay. So let's just say I'm going to make a IDRC time clock. If I press confirm, it's going to say who's going to do this. And I'm going to see if I can just, I didn't really want to, let's see if I can get Melissa. I'm trying to get Melissa on here quick. I'm just going to assign it to Melissa. And so if I say here, a new update, sample time clock. So if she's using her Connecteam, she's going to get a notification that says, hey, you have a sample time clock that you need to work with here. So if I've assigned it to her, here's the job in, the job out. So if I'm on, specifically on my app, I'll be able to log in, log out. If I've got multiple people here, you can see that nobody's really using my time clock right here. Nobody's got this. But when we do have multiple users using the time clock, you can kind of see that. I'm going to see if I can open that up. So on our slides here, let me Sorry, I'm going all over the place. Let me see if I can go back. I'm going to go back here and see if I can share something. Here is the learn more about the time clock. So if I open this up, let me see, and share
Connecteam's
this.
time clock is designed to simplify and automate your time tracking and payroll process while ensuring ease of use for your employees. As a manager, you can oversee employee hours
Computers are
both
not
through the
supposed to be here.
dashboard and on the go via your own smartphone. And your employees can easily view their timesheets and request PTO, all from the same place instead of jumping from solution to solution. In addition, the time clock is extremely flexible and can be customized for your business.
Okay, so I'm not gonna go through each one of these, but if you get stuck at all, when you're doing this, over here we have this welcome to time clock. Here's the basics. Here's how you can do it to suit it to your business. Here's understanding your job and absence insights. Here's how to take it to the next level. So Connecteam.
You're getting the black box when you open the chat.
Okay, well then you'll just let me know if
Yes.
you see something in there.
Like right now it's covering half of your page.
That's
And-
because
okay.
it's in Connecteam. They have a it's not sharing it. That's the
Okay.
video. You can't see the video. Did it go away now?
Yeah, but you still have one in the bottom, a little, and then it just came back. Okay, it went away.
Lovely.
And
Okay.
Malena has a question about the templates.
Let me go ahead and let me go back to my slides then, and then hopefully you won't see that. Okay, question. Where was
You
the
see-
sidebar open from? The sidebar is going to be when you want to learn more about the tool. You can kind of see it'll say learn more about this asset or learn more about this thing. Malena says the task for different. Okay, let's see. Is the template available for other states to consider? Is that template? So you can go on, you just basically create, you just go on and decide how you want to, add that in there. That particular template is not available for, you're just kind of based off what you want to create. I think that's the question that you have. Okay. So I'm going to stick over here just for a little bit so you can see, because it's getting kind of wonky with being online. So I still have the boxes. Okay. I don't know what the deal is with that. I guess I have to close that and
I think it's a chat because it's like a bottom right and then another one on the bottom.
well, that's
It
my
might be-
Zoom. Well, just
Oh, you can
ignore that.
drag it to another screen if you had another screen.
I don't. So welcome to technical difficulties, because it's the last session. Of course, it's gotta. So if you see that little thing at the bottom, I'll make sure it's not covering up anything important. That's just me being able to share my screen on the different things. So just a reminder, you can look at those videos, you can watch those, but once you do have people clocked in, it'll let you know, it'll list them in. And there are some things that you can specifically do with that. It'll show once they are clocked in, it'll say, okay, this person's out in the field, this person's at their home office, this person's, they'll be able to specifically see that. There are some integrations that they now have. These are new. If you look over here on the time clock, there's a lot of things that you can do. It has here like general, you can customize, you can decide with payroll, you can set up overtime, you can outline what breaks look like, you can outline what jobs they need to be doing, shift attachments that can go with that. You can outline the rules for absences. You can enable the geolocation, which we'll talk about in a little bit. That is not always on. That is something that you have to enable. You can send out reminders, notifications, auto reports, specifically set limitations, and then there are these integrations. So several of you, when we first started with Connecteam, said, I wish that there was a way that we could kind of integrate it with other things. And so they have been adding different things that can be integrated specifically from Connecteam. And so here are a few of those examples. So here's what it would look like on their phone. So when you click on the time clock, you can click on it. It says start shift. If you're not if you had a specific zone that you can actually set up to say this is where they're supposed to be working, and this is not really a concern, I think, for Migrant Ed, but could be from some other businesses that maybe you think I'm showing up and I have to be at my office as a requirement and I'm clocking in before I get to the office. Then it would say, hey, you're not in your zone. This is not where you're supposed to, if they had set up, my supervisor had set up where my zone was. here is like a morning shift checklist. You can kind of see who's all logged in, who hasn't, and this is kind of what it looks like on the phone there. So here's some examples of kind of how to, some of the customizations that you can do. You can decide the work days, how many hours they could work, the hour default time, the daily limit, when they'd be auto clocked out. Maybe they're already working 16 hours in the day and you're like, hey, this is, you know, after 12 hours, you just probably forgot to clock out. There's something called breadcrumbs, which is based on the geolocation. And breadcrumbs is something called live tracking, where it you can kind of see where they are based on, you have to enable that. And that would be something like if they're out in the field, again, as long as there is cell reception, you'll be able to kind of see, track users clock in and clock out locations if you want, or don't track them at all. And it says users must enable location sharing in order to clock in and clock out. You can decide that is a requirement or that it's not, based off what you want that to happen. This geofence site, that refers back to that idea of like, hey, you're not really at your work area yet, so I can't clock in until I am. That just depends on if you would ever want that function or not. So the breadcrumbs are kind of let you know that, okay, first in this area, and then I was over here, and then I was over there. It's not good enough to like base your mileage off of or anything, but it does give you a general idea of where staff are should you decide to enable that. You can also decide approve time off, approve time on. So it says here you can decide the policies. So there is this is a new thing over here of time off. This is something that they've added in recently, that you can designate when are approved on their schedule, when is approved time off. Maybe it's sick leave, bereavement, personal day, parental leave, but you can create the policies related to that. And if your staff are using that, you know, the scheduler, the task management, or the time clock, this is something that you can integrate and add in. So approve time off, again, you're creating these policies, you're selecting the dates, you're selecting what the limitations are, what the requirements, what the policy name is, those kind of things, should you decide to use that. There is, and Melissa, let me know if there's questions, because I'm trying not to open the chat box. Any questions?
No, no questions yet.
Okay. So there is a news events function. And so if you look over it's under the position job openings, you have the time clock, schedule management, task management, mileage. So it's gonna be like a mileage report, and the news events. So if I want to send out a blast to everybody about a particular news event, I can go ahead and create that. And then I can also, once I've sent it out, I can have people respond whether they're going to attend or not attend. And I can even decide how many spots are remaining. So maybe you have an opportunity for staff to attend something, but you only have so many spots. You can have them respond back and forth and then see who's actually able to access it or not. And so that could be something that could be helpful. So I'm going to see if I can pull that news events up. So if I want to add a new one, so I can put the date. So let's just say I was going to do something for today, and I wanted it to go out at 3 o'clock. I can pick the time zone. I could put whatever picture I want, or I can use one of the covers that already exists. And I can say, it is the weekend. That's not really helpful for what we're doing, but let's just say recruiter invitational. So we have that coming up. Be nice if I could spell invitation. No. And I can say this is in September. And I want to see who wants to go. And then I can put the location. And right now I have this stupid thing that I can't see. And let's say I want to use whatever color I want. And then I press next. And let's say that I have a limited number of spots and I only have spot 7. And I limit the amount that they can claim, and they can register up to this event 5 hours before it starts and decide which responses will be available to the, so we'll say yes, display who's going to attend. And then I can press next. Then I can decide who's going to attend this. And I can always go back to my same one I keep using. It's going to make those guys crazy. Press next, and it'll say, hey, there's a new event waiting for you on the app. If I decide that I only want them to really see it until Monday or Tuesday, I can put that on there and press next, and it will confirm that it goes out. Now, once it goes out, I can then see if they responded or if they don't, and they can say when they open it up whether they want to attend or not. And so this is something that you can kind of, maybe you have staff training, maybe you have just a reason that you want to, you know, have those news events functions you can kind of see, and they can decide whether they're going to go or not. So here's a review of what I just showed, kind of how to do that. They can also show any upcoming that's happening. There also is a quizzes opportunity in here to be able to create quizzes. And let me see if I can just share that. It might be helpful to see it in real time. So we'll go over to the staff training and we'll press quizzes. So we have some that have been created. And so we'll just say sample quiz. Same kind of thing as our reports. You can kind of type your questions, type your, you know, whatever question you want. I think we've got a few that I don't think they would mind if I shared. Here's a quiz that, let's see, assuming that's just maybe just a simple quiz about eligibility, and you want to have your staff take it, and you can kind of see, maybe you do like a scenario or something once a month, and then they can answer that, and you'll be able to see the results of the entries that were made by your staff. There also is a courses. So you can add a full onboarding course. You can have your required documents that maybe people have to review and see. And so it'll be simple course. And then it'll say add a segment. Is it going to be an onboarding? Is it going to be general training? Is it state forms and documents? Is it an eligibility resource? So maybe it's an eligibility resource. And then I can start from scratch and I can create this course that they have to do this. I can add different resources into it. There's a whole bunch that you can do and that you can kind of see from courses. This is one that you'll kind of want to have to kind of play around with and see. I think Alejandro from Kansas has used it. This is one that's not used as much, but you can kind of decide that they have to first. I think we at one point worked on one that they had the Recruiter 101, that first they had to watch the module online, then they completed the workbook, then they did the next one and they completed the workbook. So you can decide the order that they have to go to and how many have, you know, progressed. And so we had 7 units that they could kind of go through of the whole Recruiter 101 series. So you can really decide. The cool thing about it is you can't complete one task until you finish the first task. And so it kind of can walk you through how you want to do that. So has anybody used the courses or the quizzes very much? See if anybody in our, let me see. And I can't see if they respond, Melissa, so if you let me know.
Okay.
I don't think it's something that's super used, because I do think sometimes you can do things and just Google that might be easier. The course one's kind of a cool idea, and you can kind of see, but I think we at one point kind of played around with the idea that, you know, as a recruiter comes in, first they get the eligibility flow chart, then they have some scenarios. So you could really think it through and have a full course if you wanted to. But I think a lot of people have other things set up besides that. So the courses, you're just kind of creating, you're looking at it. There also is a documents section, and the way that the documents is kind of, you create document packs that you want, that recruiters can go in and see different documents. So some have used it for onboarding. Maybe they have to fill out their federal W-4 form, their driver's license, or, you know, depending on what it is that you want, but you can set up a document pack that recruiters can access to. Maybe you want them to have the farm list right there that at any point they could download and see on their phone or whatever. You can go in and add those as needed. I think I see. Okay, so I see some people have used the quizzes. So the documents allows you to create a pack of documents that you want a user to access. So you can add a document and it'll say assign this pack to a specific user. And so these are usually assigned to a user instead of a smart group. It's just someone that you specifically would need to have a different document. So there is kind of an interesting link here that I'm going to open up, if I can share it, that walks you through how to upload documents on Connecteam. So it says first, you know, access your app, navigate to the bottom, click on employee documents, that you can see all the documents. So that was under their profile. They're able to look and see those documents. Choose the relevant document. So this would be if the user had the app. And so here I'm supposed to have my driver's license, W-4, and any contractor information. I'm going to click on the upload the files and choose whether you want to upload it, so they can actually upload those documents to you and they can view anything that they might have to fill out. So here's an example of, what you would do. If your admin has uploaded a blank document for you to download, you'll be able to download it and then you can upload it. So the user can actually upload and download the required documents that you ask them to within that. So it is a secure way to be able to submit documents if they needed to use that. So you can submit the documents from as a GIF, a camera, from the gallery. You can pull from those and be able to add those in. So sometimes you're going, hey, how do I do the documents? What was it about? Remember, you can just Google Connecteam, how to use different resources, and that should help. Okay, there is another tool called Knowledge Base. Basically, it's a library of resources. This one is one that's not been used very much. I think people have other places that they get their documents from and they store their documents. But if it is available. It's kind of a library that you can just add folders and be able to share it with different users as you need to. So, and then you can see if they've actually viewed the files or not. So kind of just a library of documents that you could use. Then there is something called recognitions and celebrations. So celebrations would be, let's say you added your users in and you knew their birthday, or their year anniversary of working, or their 22nd year of anniversary of working. However, you could send them a quick little badge that will, show up right when they open their Connecteam that says, hey, congratulations, good job. And so let me see if I can just share one of those, just to share how easy that is to open up and to be able to use. So if you go over to recognitions, and I want to send a recognition, I have to decide who it's to. Let me see if I can send it to Alex. Click on here and I can say there's some that are already there. So maybe we'll say IDRC thanks you, because he's always good about whenever helping with this. And so we say, we appreciate all of your Connecteam knowledge. And so this recipient will be visible to him. You can also say, if you wanted it, anybody else, let's say that you had an employee of the month, or that you just want to thank somebody for doing something and you wanted the others in your smart group to see, you could, but I'm just going to put only, and then you press next step and it'll then send him a notification. And so Alex, there you go. But those are the kind of things that they're pretty easy to, it'll say, okay, that's what it's going to look like. And then it'll send that notification. You can kind of see. The celebrations, these are specific. I'm just going to turn off that, because those are specific things that you can share with your users. Specifically, you can recognize the things that you want to celebrate. So that does ask sometimes when you put those users in to go ahead and put their employment date and those kind of things. That's where it's kind of generating it from, unless you want to recognize something different. So good job, Alex, you got it. So they're kind of simple things, but it's something that can be very helpful for, for different task purposes. So we are going to be doing with our Connecteam state, with our IDRC states, we will have a pilot of different ways that we're using Connecteam this summer. But those of you that are new, or if you have questions on how we can really help you with your state, kind of customizing what the way that you use it. I really encourage you to use the help features that are there. A lot of times you can get stuck and, remember this little, this little chat thing. They're pretty good about answering. Sometimes they'll say, hey, we can't help you. That has to be your admin. That would be me. So you just reach out and say, hey, why am I seeing this? Or can you help me with this? And usually I can help with that. If not, I reach out to them and try to figure out how we can help with that. YouTube Connecteam has a whole bunch of YouTube resources that you can just Google and find. And then we have on our website, which I believe we shared with the last time we, with our group, if you go there's some just basic things that we think everybody should know how to do in Connecteam. Let me make sure that I'm sharing this. And there are a lot of, simple things, but these were ones that, let me show you where I got that. I start at the top and then I scroll down to where it says Connecteam training videos. And the things that we have on here, like maybe you're the admin and some of your staff are like, hey, how do I do this? From logging into the app, using quick tasks, how to navigate, time clocks, using the job scheduler, filling out the forms, creating forms, how to add users, creating courses, creating a smart group, chat options, sending reminders, creating an update. I think I have that up there. No. Creating trainings, breadcrumbs. Those are some of the basic things that we have on the website that we feel like could be helpful to all. That could be a reference. Let me drop this in the chat box.
You have a question too.
Okay. So it says about let me see. About accessing the forms that the administrator has downloaded and are in PDF. Is it possible that we can edit them in Connecteam? Example, when we're filling out a form for summer camp or a form about the services that we're providing at the moment, either as SP or recruiter or documents. So under the documents section, you could have your form that you want to download and you would have to do it outside and you can always upload it there. So you could do that. It's probably, there are probably better ways of doing that. I don't know if Connecteam would be the best, but you definitely can upload and download documents in Connecteam. And so if you wanted them to see it, but usually it's like one document, it's not like 25. So maybe you had lots of summer camp applications. There's probably a better way to get those to your supervisor than using Connecteam. I don't know if that helps you, Gabriela. It's more like documents that you would need to reference, or you might need to fill out once or twice, but not really like a secure kind of server back and forth that you could share documents like that. I don't know if that helps. Okay. So what questions do you guys have? What would you like to ask the other users that are using it? Anything that you want to just kind of pose to them to say, hey, how are you using it? And maybe if I can ask Alex and Evelyn to kind of talk about what parts you use the most and what's been most beneficial for you, if that would be okay with you guys. Either one of you. Or anybody else that wants to share.
Yeah, I can. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Alex. You can go ahead.
No, go ahead. It's okay.
All right. So we use it in a lot of different capacities. So we use it for IDNR. So our recruiters, basically a daily log. So what they're doing, COEs that they're filling out, kind of the age range of those, so we can kind of track that information. And like if they're reaching out to agribusinesses or schools, what that looks like. So we can kind of pull that data. We use it, we're fully immersed with our services. So we have like a contact log that has all of our instructional service provider, all of our service, like our support service provisions. I actually log like any information that I send out to students or schools, information like that. So we kind of have a system where we can track like a kid. Say we have a student who we need to know specific information on. We can type in his name and it kind of pulls up all the contacts that they've had throughout the school year. We also have like our initial assessment. We have like a general communication. So say, I guess an example was we had a student who moved from one building to the next. Our staff in the field wouldn't necessarily know that, but I send them information letting them know that. We actually most recently have created a McKinney-Vento form that actually is shared with the Nebraska Department of Education to their contact person for that. And so then it's just kind of like a cycle. We submit students we think that might qualify, and then they reach out to the school. So that's worked out really well for us. But I think that's kind of the ways we use it the most, probably.
Yeah, and you guys, if you weren't in the last session, Nebraska is one of our few states that was like used it so much that they said, we just want our own Connecteam account. So they have gone and they purchased their own through Connecteam and have their own internal system, which any state can totally do that at any point. But you guys have really integrated it into all different aspects. And there was a whole process on the legal side and the, kind of checking on the secure IT side that they went through with Connecteam to make sure that it would meet the requirements that they needed. And we actually were able to move all of our Nebraska accounts out, and then they have them all on their state side. So that has been something that I think you guys have really, it's been really helpful for a lot of different areas that you went. So thank you for sharing. Alex, you want to talk about what you guys are doing?
As same as Nebraska, we pretty much use the application for multiple aspects of the performance of our program, more so for identification. That's where we house pretty much all of the keep track of all the time efforts that staff are doing through on a daily basis. We're able to break down where their majority of efforts are conducted and how the efficiency of how they're doing their time tracks. We also do it for draft mile reimbursements and any reimbursement that we need to bring over to our staff on a weekly basis. And then the majority heavy usage is for for them to log the efforts that they are doing through on a daily basis as well. And that way they can do a summary of all activities that they have done throughout the day. And we use that to triangulate the efficacy between their time span as well as the efforts that they have conducted. And we're started to using it as well to track the services provided for migratory students and out-of-school youth, as well as how long does it take, all the efforts that go in the background to be done in order for us to for the services to be completed.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I think thank you guys both. Neither one of you knew I was going to say, hey, could you share? So I appreciate that. I think it's just states really need to be making sure that they're keeping the data that they need to really look at your efforts. And I think something was really helpful with what Alex just said to gauge how, are you able to actually show that, how long does it take from the time that you serve them and from when you recruited them, and what is that all looking like? And so there's a lot of really cool, we've been pretty happy with the things that they've offered, and really feel like, there's a lot that states can use. Again, we don't mandate that they do it in any particular way. We just provide the tool and have been happy with it. So we'd encourage you to, Connecteam continually adds new resources and new tools. And so sometimes they give us notifications of new things and we try to push those out to staff. But we encourage you to just, try it out and see if you want to use it. And if you do, then you definitely can have access. Question, is there any use for recruiter safety alerts? Remember, it's report based. So if you wanted to, send them a chat or something that says, hey, we know that there's going to be something going on, or maybe you use the chat function that they're letting you know where they are or something, but it's more based on the reports that they're going to fill out rather than, you could send an update that, hey guys, I don't know if you know that there's a big storm coming or something like that. You could do that kind of notifications, but that would kind of be the only thing I can think of as far as for recruiter safety. So anyway, that was, that we planned a little bit more time than what we had, but are there other questions? Anything anyone wants to ask anybody else that's using it, or anything in general that's come up that you can kind of think about? Just pay attention to the chat box here. And if not, if you have questions, go ahead.
Jessica, I was just gonna say, answering Aaron's question, I think using the quizzes and documents for any information that they might need immediately, I think that would be a good way for security, for recruiter safety.
Yeah, it's almost like a quiz or things that they, yeah, there's a lot of communication tools, a lot of ways that you can communicate back and forth. But that's, in general, I think just keep in mind that you're wanting them to report. And then we always say your reports, like Evelyn said, should be kind of integrated into your process so that you're able to improve the program. You're not just gathering reports just to gather reports. You have a purpose for each one of them. And then this is a way to make it a little bit easier. And so all of those reports can kind of be in one place. When we first started using it, a lot of states were still using paper-based forms. And so they would say, well, I could take my paper base and put it into something that was electronic and we can use that information and not have to type things in later. So just remember, whatever you put in can be pulled out through Excel. Since here we've also started putting in measures to track compliance. So it's really, there's just really whatever direction you want to go to. And then there are some people that are specifically using it in their states. I know the more use that you have, the more chance you can see of, hey, well, maybe I'll try this or try that. But the cool thing is we're not going to say, hey, Colorado, you've only used one form, you need to use 15. We're not tracking any of that. We're just trying to provide it because we feel like it's a good tool and it is very customizable and can be helpful for a lot of different things that we already need in Migrant Ed. So any final questions? Monitor the chat here for just a second. What we want to ask you too is we'll send out an evaluation of the whole data summit from yesterday and today. We'd love your thoughts. And we appreciate you guys giving us your time. Hopefully it's given you some extra ideas and some things of, a lot of information is shared. Hopefully you were able to take something that'll really benefit your program, and we appreciate your time and your effort to be here with us. And just thank you for joining us. So, and big thank you to Alex and to Evelyn for coming in without even knowing they were going to be pulled on the spot. So appreciate all you guys do. We very much enjoy the opportunity to work with so many states through IDRC. So thank you guys. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you guys later.